Hi guys, it's Mr. Schrader, and today I want to talk about our next social studies flip lesson. It's lesson 7 from unit 2 in our books, and it begins on page 114 if you're following along. It's called Our Nation's Government. A couple objectives that we want to achieve today is I want you to be able to describe the type of government we have in the United States and understand the powers and duties of the three branches of the national government. It all kind of leads to this main idea down here at the bottom. How has the national government adapted to meet people's needs? Really what we're talking about today is we're going to talk about the structure of our national government. And our national government is set up with this document. We've talked about it before. It's called the Constitution, and it begins with the words, "We the people." That shows that the people are the ones that control our government. Right at the very beginning of this document, it talks the people. It's also the biggest words on this document. It lets you know that the people are the ones in charge of this government. So when we talk about setting it up, we need to talk about the people that run it. Our national government in the United States is also referred to as the federal government. Those kind of words are used interchangeably. Federal government just means the national government. It's not the Kansas state government, it's the federal government. And it provides services for people in all 50 states. These include things like the military, such as like the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marines, the Coast Guard. It includes, they're in charge of our money system. They include the Postal Service, and they make sure food and medicines are safe for people to use. Now, a government run by the people, the term for that is a democracy. That means that people get to vote when you're 18 years old. You get to vote and have a say in who runs the government. You know, the people aren't the actual ones running it. It's the people get to elect people to run the government and pass laws. Those people are called citizens. A citizen is a person who is born into a country or who has earned the right to become a member of that country by law. Because you vote and because you put people into government, you're called a citizen. The word citizen used to mean, it comes from the original word of a person of a city, and they kind of generalize that to a person of a country. So see the city kind of root word there. It means a person that belongs to a city. Well, now it means a person that belongs to a country. Citizens elect state and local representatives, as well as the president, and in national elections. Our federal government is located in Washington, D.C. We're right here. Washington, D.C. is clear on the East Coast. And it has the same three branches that the state governments have. It has an executive branch, a legislative branch, and a judicial branch. Each branch has its own duties and responsibilities. Our government is set up with a system called checks and balances. And what that means is that one branch does not have too much power because another branch kind of has power over them. Let's talk about what this means. We have the first branch is the executive branch, and this is the White House, which is where the center of the executive branch of the federal government is. And the person that lives here is the president. The president is the head of the executive branch and is elected to a term of 4 years. So when we elect a president, they're a president for 4 years, and then they can be reelected from there. The president or the executive branch has several duties. First one is to carry out the laws and lead the military. We call this the commander-in-chief. That one of the president's titles is commander-in-chief, which means he leads our military. Our president plans the national budget that tells how the government will spend its money. And the president meets with leaders of other countries. And the president also appoints a group of advisors called the cabinet who help with important decision making. The next branch of the government is called the legislative branch. This right here is a picture of the U.S. Capitol, also located in Washington, D.C., not far from the White House. The legislative branch of the federal government is called Congress, Congress. And Congress is made up of two parts. There's the Senate and the House of Representatives, called a bicameral Congress. And what that means is there are two distinct bodies in Congress. There's the Senate and the House of Representatives. Now, the Senate has 100 senators, no more or no less. There can never be more or less. However, the House of Representatives, it depends on the population as to how many representatives there are. So from Kansas, there are 2 senators. There's 2 from each state, so meaning 100 senators. So there's 2 senators, and the House of Representatives depends on the population. In Kansas, I believe there are 4. If you have a larger population, you get more representatives in the House of Representatives. Now, Congress, they're in charge of making laws for our country. They also decide how much money to spend. While the president creates the budget, the legislative branch is the one that actually spends the money. And the last branch of their government is the judicial branch. This is what we refer to as generally the Supreme Court. This is a picture of the Supreme Court. The judicial branch of the federal government is the one in charge of interpreting the laws for our country. It's the highest court in our country, and it includes all the federal courts in our country. So they're the ones that interpret the laws. They can say that this law is not fair, or they can uphold laws. Those are the 3 branches. You will be in charge of knowing those 3 branches. You'll need to know the word federal and democracy and citizen. And we'll talk about a couple more in class as well. But our government is made up of 3 distinct branches: the executive branch, the legislative branch, and the judicial branch. Thanks.